Alright, what's going on, guys? Trev back again. Here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing a video talking about the possibility of a sequel for World War Z. Okay, so that didn't take long. Already there are rumors and reports of Paramount discussing and thinking about doing a sequel for World War Z. Now, if any of you still haven't seen World War Z or don't know what it is, basically you have a zombie apocalypse movie starring Brad Pitt as the main character, Gerry Lane, a UN worker who's now retired and basically is being called upon by the United Nations to try to figure out a way to combat the zombie apocalypse. So, if you guys haven't seen my review for the first World War Z, please feel free to go check it out. It's about 17 minutes long, non-spoiler, so no reason for me to get into that again and do a review for it again here. You can just go watch that. I'll put a link in the description to it so you can hear all my thoughts on the first World War Z. So what do I think about the possibility of them doing a sequel for World War Z? Do I think it's worth it? Do I think it's good? Well, I mean, the budget for the first one was $200 million, I believe. And already it has, I think, done around $100 million at this point, and it should make its money back, pretty much guaranteed. It's looking that way, like it's pretty much guaranteed to at least make its money back and probably make Paramount probably at least a good solid $100 million or somewhere around that type of range. So that being said, will they do a sequel? Do I think they will? Well, I think really the most important factor here is actually Brad Pitt and whether or not he wants to do a sequel for World War Z. Haven't had any word from him yet in terms of whether or not he wants to do it or anything of the sort. But if they're going to do a sequel for World War Z and they're not going to have Gerry Lane as a character in it, I don't necessarily think it's a good idea. This really brings to mind 28 Days Later, 28 Weeks Later, where you had Cillian Murphy in the first one, 28 Days Later, and then the sequel you did not. And to be honest, even at this point, 28 Weeks Later, I can't remember the names of any characters in that entire movie. I remember the little boy, but I don't remember his name, the kid that was immune, so walkers or zombies wouldn't attack him. But I don't remember anybody else. And I think that could be a problem for World War Z too, is that the characters may not be memorable if they do a sequel and they don't get Brad Pitt back as Gerry Lane. Also, if they try to replace Brad Pitt in the movie, I think that'll also detract from it. Now, a lot of times studios can't help but replace actors if the actors refuse to do it, because obviously Brad Pitt contractually is not obligated to do a second World War Z as far as we know. I'm fairly certain he didn't sign on for a few of them, but there are people talking about it will be a trilogy, or they're planning on making it a trilogy. I'm excited to hear that. I would really like to see a trilogy for World War Z, especially since the first one really had nothing to do with the Max Brooke book for World War Z. Nothing even close. Gerry Lane is a new character. His family, everything like that has nothing to do with the book. So even though it shares the name of the books, it really hasn't touched the books at all. It just really shares the name, and they created entirely their own unique movie and universe for it, even though, well, the universe does match. And the worldwide look or the perspective of a worldwide view of a zombie apocalypse matches from the book, I guess. But yeah, I really did enjoy the first one. I would like to see a second, and maybe even a trilogy if Brad Pitt is up to it, if the studio is up to it. But I would say if he refuses to come back and he doesn't want to do it, and they try to switch characters for World War Z to another character or something, then I'd have to say no. I'll watch it anyway because it's zombie apocalypse related, but I wouldn't really be that excited for it, I wouldn't really. It is nice to see, though, that zombie movies are making a comeback, because after your 28 Days Later, ever since then, we really haven't had a zombie movie that's been all that good, to be honest with you. Yes, we've had the Resident Evil series, but I don't know if you really even want to call that like a zombie apocalypse. That's something different entirely. I don't even consider Resident Evil series to be a zombie apocalypse, because you have all these other crazy creations and craziness going on. I mean, Alice has superpowers, for God's sake. That's not something I think of as a typical zombie apocalypse. Now, so I am excited to see a sequel and maybe even a third one if they can make it happen. I would definitely go see it. Now, the only thing I want to say about it is what can we expect? What direction do I think they're going to go if they do, in fact, make another one? I would think that if they were going to do it, they probably would continue with the worldwide view. They probably would continue with Gerry and maybe have the beginning of them starting to fight back against the zombie apocalypse, trying to retake some land or do something of the sort. Maybe a capital city or something of the sort. Have him lead an assault to try to clear out an area and create a new safe zone or something of the sort. Giving people what he had created at the end of the first movie. Non-spoiler for those of you who haven't seen it. I can't really say anymore because I don't want to ruin anything for you. Those of you who have seen it understand what I'm saying, so that they can fight back better against the zombie apocalypse. So that would be good. In the second one, I hope if they do it, I hope they use more practical effects, less CG. They can keep the big panoramic, zombie apocalypse craziness, because I enjoyed that in the first one. Zombies hurting themselves with reckless abandon, doing all kinds of crazy things like that. I hope they take back a little bit from the whole jumping, lunging, and Spider-Man zombie-ishness that we saw in the first one, and use more practical effects. They can still be fast zombies, they can still be ferocious, and they can still hurt themselves, but just try to do it more practically, reduce the CG, my opinion. CG, really, if you can ever do anything practically in a movie, it will always look better than CG if you can do it right. We have movies in the 90s, for example, the Turtles in the 90s, that were done with the Jim Henson suits, I believe. And those turtles look better than anything we've seen until now. And I'm sure they'll look better, like more realistic, than even the turtle movie that's coming out next year, where they're going to be CG turtles inside of a real live action, but the turtles themselves will be CG. So anything I think that studios can do practically, I think it's always a benefit. Because answer this question for me, anybody who's watching. Do you believe that the zombies or walkers in World War Z, the first one, look more realistic than the walkers in The Walking Dead? Answer me that. If anyone believes that the World War Z zombies look more legitimate, look more realistic than the World War Z, than the Walking Dead walkers from Greg Nicotero's prosthetic makeup work, if anybody thinks that the World War Z walkers or zombies look better or more realistic, I can't say that we see eye to eye probably on anything, because when I look at it and I see the walkers from The Walking Dead, the zombies from The Walking Dead, I'm like, oh man, that's a real, like that looks legit, like just how it would look in real life. Completely, especially like Merle, like zombie Merle, for example, perfect example, the eyes and everything. You just shouldn't do things like that with CG. You just shouldn't do it. It doesn't need to be done that way. It should be done practically. So I hope in the sequel or the third they start to do more of that. Less of the super crazy Spider-Man zombie stuff, climbing giant 100-foot walls and stuff like that on top of each other. Less of that stuff and more realistic approach. Because also too, if they're going to be fighting back against zombies in World War Z, the sequel, and the third, you can't successfully defeat walkers that are like the walkers in I call them walkers. I guess in World War Z I should call them runners, because they're more like sprinters. They're not like walkers. They just sprint everywhere. There's no way you could beat them. I mean, even if you had what occurred at the end of the first World War Z, even if you had that, what Brad Pitt was able to figure out, his character Gerry Lane was able to figure out, even if you had that, you still couldn't successfully fight back against them. So I hope they bring that back a little bit, take a little bit of that craziness away from how strong those runners or sprinters zombies were. Because realistically, you could not defeat them. It's impossible. So aside from that, I hope it keeps that positive outlook on them fighting back instead of just a survival horror. But it would be kind of interesting to see maybe a different approach. Like, let's see, Gerry gets kicked off that aircraft carrier, his family, because they've used him, they've got what he wants, and then they kick him off or something. Or something like that. That would kind of be interesting too, to see it twist into that type of survival horror. They could really go two directions with that. They could either do that and have it go that route, or they could go the other route and have it stay positive, stay in an offensive stance, where they're fighting back against the zombie apocalypse. So let me know what you guys think about the prospect of a World War Z 2 or World War Z sequel, maybe even a third, and which would you like? Would you like to see them go more the survival horror route, maybe have the military kick Gerry off the aircraft carrier with his family so that they can no longer stay there and he has to be forced to go find somewhere else to stay, turn it into a survival horror series that way? Or would you rather stay true to the first one and have it maybe Gerry become like a leader or commander of a resistance force to start taking back land somewhere? Let me know what you guys think about it. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I'll call it here. That's it for this video, guys. I'll see you for the next one. This is Trev, and I'm saying peace.